And we are live. Welcome back to Talking Story. Welcome, Kevin M. Connolly. Kevin, I hope everyone here is this is a little bit of a departure for us.
I saw
this.
that.
This is the first time. This is our first artist journey that we're not sitting down with a writer, with an author. But there are a lot of anime fans out there. A lot of anime fans here, subscribers that actually had me watch my first anime movie this past week.
Really? Look
Yes,
at you.
yes.
Trying new things.
I have lost my anime virginity this past week.
Fabulous.
It was magical. He is one of the best humans in the world. He is an enormously talented actor. He has made the switch over to voiceover acting in anime and audiobooks. And we love us some audiobooks here, and we love some anime books here. So I thought, it would be so much fun to have you on and see how you made this transition in this journey, and also just to catch up, my brother.
I know, because I hope everybody knows that you and I have a history.
I did tell everybody we both know where the others buried the bodies.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Boy, do we ever. Boy, do we ever. No, this is such a treat for me. John, the Fabulous Minton, has been one of the greatest friends of mine. The varied experiences going from doing theater together to getting to work at your fabulous comic book shop.
Oh yeah.
Which I love that more than teaching. I tell you, every time I had class, I would so excited to drive. Like, I get to work at the store today.
There are times I miss that store. I want to say hello to some folks in the chat.
Absolutely.
You guys hit us up with questions as we get going. If you're anime fans, if you want to know anything, Slay, hey, Ariel, hey, got off work early, awesome. Brenda, how are you? Ghost Dragon, Kale. Everyone, hit us up in the chats. Let us know what you want to know about. I'm going to start this off the way I start off every artist journey, because you, my friend, are an artist.
I'm trying to be.
And that is my first question. Now this is going to hit a little bit different, but it still makes perfect sense for me. I always ask him, when did you decide? When did you know? When did it come to you that you wanted to be a storyteller? And I know acting's a little bit different, but to tell that story, you got to have actors in that capacity. Scripts are kind of unfinished until the director and the actors and the designers get a hold of it.
Exactly.
So when did it hit you? Where were you? What age were you? How did the calling come?
I can tell you exactly when it happened, because of a girl. I was a
Why
freshman.
am I not surprised?
No, I was this was back in my, when I was in the religious days, which are long gone. No, I was in a youth group, and there was a girl I was smitten on, and we dated for like a month, and then she was like, "Nah, I'm not into you," right? Yeah. But I knew she did theater. She had gotten to theater at Clark High School, and I thought, theater. I wonder what theater's like. And I thought, maybe if I get into this is almost psychotic, almost. I'm embarrassed to share it. I thought, maybe if I get into theater, we might work on a show together, and she'll say, "Hey, he likes theater. Maybe I can like him."
The bells will ring.
The bells will ring.
Bells will ring.
So I had to pick an elective, right, for my sophomore year, and I thought, well, I'll do theater. And this is amazing too, because it was with Tammy and Kenny Frazier. Tammy Frazier was my teacher.
This is going to be so unfair, because all these people don't know what we're talking about.
I know. This is awful. I love. And I actually reconnected with them this year when I was at home for my mom's birthday. I had
so sweet.
Tea with them. They are. I'm trying to get them in. I'm trying to get them into voiceover now too.
Oh,
they have. As a side note, the Vexler was closed down. That's the theater that they were at for 20 years during the pandemic. Yeah. Well, they transformed their house into a themed Airbnb, and it's a Sherlock Holmes puzzle house.
Oh my God, that is
so. If you ever find yourself back in San Antonio and you want to do a puzzle while you're staying, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to try and get my parents to go over the call. Yeah,
of course it is. So I just want to say, Heidi, we are going to get to this. I'm not going to answer this question now. We are going to get to this. And Brian, Kevin, and we're going to use the same words from theater over and over again. Smitten is a favorite one.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
All right, so go on. So it was Clark.
So basically, it was Clark, and I was at Lee High School.
Yeah.
And so then I took my elective, and I'll never forget my very first day in theater Mrs. Fraser. I have to call her Mrs. Fraser and Kenny because that's just how that was
Sure.
3 years of high school. Of course, Kenny's students, it's Mr. Fraser and Kenny. Um, but there was just something about her as a teacher and her love of theater. And I just immediately, I was like, because I'd always been very shy and timid in middle school. And, this is how bad it was. They gave me the wrong combination for my locker when I
Oh,
first
yeah.
got to high school, and I was too scared to go to the office. So I carried 2 book bags of all my books to all my
For
classes.
how long, Kevin?
For like 2 weeks. It was stupid.
Oh.
I mean, so I was so timid and shy, and I didn't want to rustle any anyway. I got the combination. I was fine after that. But there was just something about Mrs. Fraser and her love of theater. And my first show ever, Once Upon a Mattress,
Yeah.
which is the musical version of The Princess and the Pea. And it just clicked. And then
Yeah.
I was in every show. I ended up being, voted most talented in my senior class.
And you dropped that timid, shy
was
guy.
gone.
Yeah.
Gone. And to toot my, not that it matters now, but we were the first time we went to state with UIL, and I got best actor at state, man. It transformed my life.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with storytelling.
So from then on, it was you were
That's it.
set. Like this is
my
what
life.
you were gonna do, no
This is
matter
all
what.
I know. This is all I know how to do.
Right.
It's all I know, and I love it.
So were your parents, family
Shocked.
not a big theater family?
No, not at all. Though I'll tell you, no, my mom did take me to my first ever theater show.
Well,
Because she wanted to introduce me to theater, which was kind of odd. It was in 8th grade, and it was at the Josephine, and it was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat,
yeah.
which Becky was in at the time.
Yeah.
And then we ended up working with her as well at the
Yeah.
Magic, obviously,
Yeah.
so, but, never really pushed it on us, and then, I remember when I graduated, I think high school, and my mom knew I was going to college and I was going to, at Incarnate Word, I was going to study theater, that she was like, maybe you'll pick, your real job. And I never did. This is my real job. And we have our ups and downs. You know that, but I love it. I don't know what else I would do with my life.
Well, yeah. I mean, I spent, and I know you're gonna, I've spent a lot of years eating 3-day-old bagels with Pizza Quick because that's all,
That's all we could do.
That's all the house could afford. But it's like, thinking back some of the best times. Someone asked, and I can't even find it, but I want to ask it before I move too far forward.
Yeah.
So if you could voice any character, any anime character, who would it be?
Oh, now see, this is where I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Yeah, because someone already voices that person.
Most likely someone much higher on the voiceover. But see, I'm familiar with a lot of anime. I don't watch a lot of anime.
Kevin,
I know it's hard. Well, think about this. Hold on. Think about this. I got into it as an acting job.
Yeah.
So
you got in as an acting job, not a fan.
No. In fact, I didn't even know what anime really was when I did my first gig.
How
and
far
looking
back was this?
This is 20 years ago this year.
Wow. So you had your first voiceover you gave in anime 20 years ago.
May of 2004 was a show called Case Closed, which is now known as Detective Conan. It's changed studios a couple of times.
Okay.
But it was an acting job. I got into it because I became interested in voiceover because of Vic Trevino, of all people. Who was a side note, if anybody knows Pee Wee Playhouse, he was Ricardo, the World's Strongest Man on that. He is still that ripped today. It's insane.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy.
It is insane.
So I met my first voiceover teacher through just a weird series of events. My dad's best friend, my dad saw I was trying to learn about voiceover because they weren't teaching it in college or grad school. Because at the time, it was such a niche little, this is why you heard the same guy going, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. You would hear that guy in Miami and New York and Chicago because it's such a small little world. But I was researching all these books. And then my dad saw that, happened to mention to one of his friends in Dallas who just said, hey, there's a voice actor in my building. Maybe I'll see if he'll talk to Kevin. So I drove up to Dallas because my mom's from there, stayed with family. I met the guy named Bob Magruder. Any anime fans, he was the narrator on Fairy Tale. So he's passed away now since then, sadly. But took me to lunch, talked about his career, yada, yada, yada. I moved to Dallas, start doing theater. And then I say, hey, he mentioned that he did a class in Houston a 1-day voiceover class. And I thought, I got friends in Houston. I'll take a weekend. So I wrote to him and I said, hey, let me know when your next voiceover class is, and I'll drive down to Houston. He says, Kevin, I've got one in 2 weeks here in Dallas. Send me $100. You're in. I'm like, couldn't write that check fast enough. And then Becky was in Dallas at the time too. And so we had dinner and she said, well, what are you doing in Dallas? I said, I want to learn about voiceover. And she says, I do too. Let's compare notes. She calls me the next day and says, there's a company called Funimation and they do something with Japanese cartoons, I think. And I said, great, I'll find out. Now, me being the dumbass that I am, I just call them up. You know,
like you just pick up the phone and call Funimation.
I've literally found their phone number. I said, hey, what do you guys do? And they said, well,
like, where were they? Were in Dallas? The office was in Dallas?
Yeah, they're based in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so I called up and they said, oh, yeah, we do English dubs to Japanese cartoons. And I was like, so is there a casting agent or do you guys go through a particular talent agent? And they just said, oh, send in your demo. We'll put you on the audition list. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And I hang up thinking, I wonder what a demo is. Maybe I'll learn a class. You know, hopefully I'll learn a class. Yeah. So 3 days later, I'm in this class and we're in the same building as Bob's office was. There was a talent agency on the bottom floor. And, you know, there's like 8 of us, like in a semicircle, you know, you're like, you know, like when you're like the new student at school, you're like, hi, I'm Kevin. I have a master's, but I don't know anything about voiceover.
Yeah.
Well,
then my favorite color's blue.
My favorite color's blue. Right. So 2 seats down, this guy says, hi, my name is Mike McFarland. For the last 5 years, I've been a writer, director, producer, and director at Funimation, and I'm looking to branch out. And I'm like, oh my, this is the guy I need to talk to. I just So, you know, we're reading copy all morning, you know, commercials and promos and all this stuff, right? We go to lunch. I come back a little early. I'm reading my book and I hear this voice say, so you're from San Antonio, huh? And I look up and it's Mike. I'm like, yeah, I'm here doing theater. I'm trying to learn about voiceover. And I'm trying to be nonchalant, right? I'm like, all cool. And like, so you work at that, was it Fun Times or Funimate or something?
You did not.
I did.
Purposely got the name wrong?
I purposely got the name wrong.
You're so smooth. You're so smooth.
Yeah. Oh, come on. You know how smooth I am. I'm sure it came off as like, dude, what are you talking about? And he said, oh, yeah. I says, I work at Funimation. I said, it's so funny. I just called and they said to send in a demo for the audition list. I'm hoping to learn about a demo here, but maybe I could reach out to you and just kind of pick your brain and get some suggestions. And he kind of rolled his eyes and he said, oh, the audition list. I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, well, the audition list is a 2-year wait. And I'm like, well, I got 2 years to make a great demo, I guess. And he said, no. He says, you're trained. I like your voice. You've got good control of it. Give me your contact info and I'll bring you in. And 2 weeks later, I was on case closed and it just never stopped.
You're kidding me.
That's how it, the universe, I think the universe was just saw me reading every book I can find. And I'm ordering books from Amazon. I'm asking everybody who, you know, do you do voiceover? Like I do commercials. Like how do you approach that kind of script? And or you do cartoons. How do you? And I just trying to learn as much as I could. Yeah. And then everything just kind of lined up. And then within 2 weeks, I started dubbing. So
then, okay. So did you? Yeah. Was all your work there at Funimation, or did you branch out?
At the time, yeah. No, at the time there was only Funimation as a studio there. There's like 5 studios in Dallas now. Okay. But at the time, it was only the one. And again, so going back to your original question about, you know, what anime do I watch? I mean, I realized then that I had watched anime as a kid. Like I remember G-Force or Battle of the Planets.
Yeah. I remember G-Force. I remember Speed Racer.
Speed Racer. I also really dug Battleship Yamamoto, the big floating, you know.
I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, if you saw the picture of the ship, I'd bet you're like, oh, that
probably,
one.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that was anime. And so that's when I kind of started learning about it a lot. In fact, I volunteered at a big anime convention just to see what it was all about. And it blew me away. I mean, it's like a Star Trek convention on speed. You know, it's just, it was great. It was awesome. And so, but, you know, at its core, for me, my fandom, and you know this all too well, is I'm Star Trek and I'm comic books. And so if I could my goal, to the question of if I could voice anything.
Yes.
I want to be on a Star Trek cartoon so bad, or a Star Trek video game.
Yeah.
I will do anything to be on a Star Trek video game or a cartoon. That's my goal.
You were so close to being on He-Man.
Oh my gosh, yes. I guess I can legally talk about this. I mean, it's been on for what, 2 seasons? Why would they stop me?
I mean, who would? Let's tell this. I love
All
this
right.
story.
This is so cool. And you know what? I'll send you the tweet that I got back.
Yeah.
So if you want to post it later, you can do that if you want. So get an email, through my acting website from a casting director saying, hi, I'm so and so. Someone recommended you to us. I'm like, I would love to find out who they are and thank them profusely. And they said, we are casting the new Kevin Smith He-Man cartoon, and we would love to hear you read for whichever characters you'd like to try out. Like, oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah.
Now, the way the email was worded at the time is that this is a non-union job. And so there's a whole, we won't get into the details of union, non-union, yada, yada, yada. But it made it very clear in this particular instance that this was never, ever, 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 typed out, ever, 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 ever going to go union. I was like, great. Oh, thank you, Slay. Yes, Harley Hartwell. I was Harley Hartwell. See, they just know know a title, you know the show. Great.
But that wasn't the first character you played.
Was that. I'll get into. That's a whole other story.
Okay,
Where
we'll get back to Slay. We'll get to Harley.
Back because
I want to hear the He-Man story though, because I love this one.
This was so I'm like, of course. So I think so. It was the usual thing. It was a collection of different characters. It was He-Man, or the Prince, the Prince version, and then the He-Man version, Skeletor, and I think I read for 2 others, but I was like, oh my gosh, to be Skeletor would be amazing. I mean, just amazing. So did my audition. In the interim, I mentioned to a friend of mine about this, and he says, hey, I want to get on that. So I wrote to the casting director, said, I have a friend of mine, here's his website, maybe could you send it to him? She's like, yeah, great, we'll send it to him, right? And he ultimately got it, so that's key. I guess about a week later, I get an email saying, hey, everybody, hey, our Skeletors. So I call it a callback. If it was a real callback, I don't know, but I'll say it was.
They said our Skeletors. So.
Our Skeletors.
Yeah.
So they said the producers have reviewed the auditions. They have some additional performance notes. Please watch this clip. We want something a little closer to this from the original. Some other, the usual. So I read it again, send it in. And I mentioned this to my friend who I got in on the audition. Well, about a week after that, he comes in and says, Kevin, did you hear that the show went union? I'm like, what? So
you're thinking immediately, my paycheck just went up.
My paycheck just went up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What if I'm understanding it right? What happened is that Netflix was in negotiations with SAG-AFTRA and just didn't tell a lot of the production studios. So anything now on Netflix has to be union, right?
Union, sure.
So I guess it was about a week later that they announced the celebrity cast, basically,
Yeah.
And of course, who was Skeletor is none other than the fabulous Mark Hamill. So the show, the cast list comes out and all this stuff. And I technically have an agent in England, and I was on their Twitter, and they made a little tweet saying, are you excited or what do you think about the cast of He-Man? And I made a response saying, for about 30 seconds, I got to be Skeletor. But if I have to lose to Mark Hamill, I suppose that's okay. Read complete, just joyful sarcasm, really.
Sure.
Well, then Mark Hamill tweets back to me and says, Kevin, don't sweat it. When one door closes, another opens, onward and upward. And I was just like, this man is such a treasure.
I mean, you were that close to contact to Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. That's my 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
I've got a couple I'll share with you.
That is awesome, man. So how'd you get to Harley? For Slay's sake, let's talk to Harley.
So real quick,
you brought up something. Let me ask this question before I move on.
Yeah.
Like you said, watch this tape and then take another pass at it, do it again. Like when you're doing this kind of stuff, is it like theater work? Do you talk character with the director, or do you basically do they show you a picture and you bring a voice in and they like it or they don't like it? I mean, how do you build these characters?
That's kind of it right there, because some of these projects have to happen so fast, especially with video games. So if we have any League of Legends players, that's another bitter story, dare I say. But it starts out with a picture. Well, if you're lucky to get a picture, yeah. And then usually it's just a description and dialogue. And so, it used to be where you'd go into the studio and you might work with the casting director and kind of develop something in the moment, but now everything's emailed to us. And so it really does fall upon me. And as a side note, if anyone's interested, creating character voices by Pat Fraley, his like 35th anniversary edition is golden nuggets all over the place for making characters quickly. For anybody listening or watching, he was the original Krang in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon. And he does a video where he talks that he had 2 minutes to come up with that character voice.
Wow.
And he has a whole process that he puts together and layering, inspiration and character voices. And then that's what booked it. So that's what happens with me a lot. Yeah.
So that's it. You hopefully you get a picture. You might just get a description and some
mostly a
sides.
description, yeah, and some sides. And then it's really trusting the description.
You come in with a voice, and it's like, it's the audition pressure, right? They like it or they don't. The next person,
Right.
They don't take a lot of time. Oh, we're going to unearth the character and find it. It's like,
No.
it's more TV film. Like you get work by not taking up time.
Exactly. I try to do two takes, and if I can vary it up,
Yeah.
I've learned a couple of great techniques to make very quick decisions on how to vary up energy and delivery. I really try to practice more often vocal placement, because I can say the same line back here, but say the same line back here, and it's two completely different characters, but it's the exact same delivery, just placing it different parts of the mask, as you might recall how we were taught,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's me. I hate self-directing with a passion, but it's just part of the gig now.
But that's a lot of it, right? That's what you
Yeah.
have to do.
That's exactly what it is. It's self-direction.
So say you get the job. Do you get input from the director, or they
Absolutely.
Okay, you do.
Well, I mean, they've usually cast you because of what you did, and then they just may fine tune it a little bit.
Okay.
That's what it is. But they won't come in and say, okay, we're going to start scratch and do a completely different voice, because no, they need to hear what you're going to bring to that character with the description you were given, and then fine tune.
How often do you get to have the luxury of working with the other actors, or is it just you in a studio, you in a sound?
It's me in a studio. Yeah, with anime and video games, it's me, the director, and the engineer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never another.
Well, so for dubbing work, and for video games, unless what's called prelay, I did get to work within a cast on a show called Lego Friends, but that's where it wasn't drawn yet. So we were in a semicircle. We actually have our own microphones, and we read through the scene, and then the director may pick an actor to read a couple different lines. So I've had that experience a couple of times. But if it's anime dubs and video games, you're gonna be by yourself, because I'm the 10 take wonder. I mean, because there's so many variables that can happen in a dubbing session. So specifically for anime, there may be too many words, we have to rewrite it. There may be too few words, we have to rewrite it. We may have
to match the flaps, right?
To match the flaps, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have the rest of a cast, some who may have traveled out of town, sitting and waiting for you to get your lines right.
Right.
So you go in and you just hit line. The goal is about 25 to 30 lines per hour. In studio,
that doesn't sound like a lot, but I bet
it
that
doesn't.
is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
So my very first gig, and I thought I would never work again on Case Closed, I had 12 lines, and it took an hour and a half to do.
Oh
But
my God.
there had to be a lot of rewriting, though, because it was just too many words, because people in there, when you have these writers who are adapting a script, they have to they have to carry the story from a
Right.
translation in the amount of syllables that is in the animation. So you've got layer upon layer upon layer.
It's like working in pentameter, right? It's like
Exactly.
you almost got to improv in pentameter. So if you're when you have to rewrite like that to say the flaps aren't lining up, you got to rewrite.
Right.
Do you as a performer ever get to say, let me try and take a stab at it and add a word here or there and try and make it match up? Or that's strictly in the hands of the writer?
The director mainly. Actually, the director's
really?
will do the rewriting.
Okay.
Yeah, the writer's not present usually with us. Some directors do write, but the majority of the time it's going to be, there's a writing team, there's a directing team, and then you have your cast. So usually the director will sit there and try and figure something out. I may throw in suggestions, and a couple of times, and a few times they said, okay, let's try that, but usually I just, because the director knows the whole story, and they know the scenes before and after and what needs to
So
happen.
you don't get a complete script when you come in.
I
You
see
get your
my
12
lines.
lines.
Well, we have the whole script, and then they just say, okay, line number 12. That's our first line. Look at the line, watch
Oh
the
my.
screen. I see the flaps, and then we go. Yeah,
How many times
it's like doing this
How many times
know.
do you get to watch the flaps before you have to go?
once
Oh
or twice.
no,
I mean,
no.
I tried once or twice, and then I pretty much catch it. Yeah. And it's
Wow.
actually a little more difficult now because we used to have paper scripts, right? So I
Right.
would fold it so I could have the line, and I would hold it up
And
to the TV monitor so
right,
my
right.
eye line could go across. Well, now it's to save paper, it's all on monitors now.
You
So
can't
I've got
move
to
that.
no,
Yeah,
you
you got
can't.
to
So
look back and forth.
they try to raise it just enough so I can go up and down watching, use my upper peripheral vision to watch the flaps and watch the dialogue and see if it. But I've been, again, this is 20 years of experience of my eyes learning how to function like that. But my first time, dude, I thought I'd never work again. I thought I drove home thinking, well, that was a fun
That's it.
experience.
Well, that was fun. That was fun.
I'll go back to theater now. Bye.
Yeah. I'll go back to live theater where I can say whatever I want.
Exactly. Exactly. And not break on stage.
No, stop it.
We have to tell that story.
We stop it.
have to.
Kevin is the I can say this. I can't say this. I think you are the only person
Still.
that to this day that has ever broke me on stage. like full on had to turn away from the audience.
You turned your back to the audience.
I
How
had to turn
dare
my
you,
back
sir?
to the I was laughing that hard. I had to turn away from the audience.
There were two experiences of that show. So the
Yeah.
show was Holes. Holes. And my first experience of you and I, and I'll just share the quick version of it and the details. Do you remember though the day of reading that script? It was published, and I've tried to find it since then. We were reading off the copy that was printed in American Theater magazine.
Yeah.
And I remember we were the Southwest premiere, I believe, of the show,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly. But you and I went to lunch, and we were
Sounds right.
yeah, you and I went to lunch, and everyone, like a bunch of us were trying to go to KFC, and for whatever reason, I didn't have my credit card or something, and we went to Popeyes. That didn't sit well. And then
I'm
we start
shocked,
reading that
Kevin.
play.
I'm shocked.
I know. And then we start doing the read through after
Yeah.
lunch in front of in the theater. We're all sitting there. We all got our copies, right? And I was playing Stanley Yelnats. I was and then I remember I was sweating buckets thinking I just need to get to intermission. And then what does Richard go? Richard says, well, that's act one. Let's just continue on reading. And I'm like,
Richard it's our executive director.
he was,
So,
and he was, I don't
Okay.
remember anyway. So let's talk about.
No,
the
wait.
moment.
You're gonna talk about sweating buckets. This is one of my all-time favorite theater stories. Is when we were working at Magic Theater and we
Right.
were contracted out to go to
Yep.
USAA and do their family day.
Oh God!
So Kevin here is in like a blue and purple bear suit.
Yeah,
And you
with that head.
with that head, and you got to work that morning before you put the suit on, looking like 7 shades of death.
I was
Like-
dead. I had woken up that morning about 4 a.m. and
Yeah.
just headache. I'd actually, you know what? I think I know what it was now. Years later, I discovered it. I'll come back to that. But yeah, no, I remember. So we were doing like 6 performances that day. Like it was every hour on the hour. And I had to wear that blue head. It was like it wasn't a full suit. It was like a tuxedo or something.
I
It was
don't
kind
know
of
what
black,
it was.
some
So
black suit.
hot. This
It
is
was
Southwest
hot
Texas.
and
And
horrible.
I remember you coming back in between one show. You came back and you took your head off and you just leaned over to me and said, "I just gave birth to a I just gave birth to an alien baby in the bathroom made of molten lava."
Yes, Oh, that was a terrible, awful day.
That was an awful day.
Just, I was desperate for that day to end.
That's what
Not-
theater's all about.
Not to mention that we have to add in the fact that our wonderful narrator kept falling asleep during the show.
Well, there's that. That's a whole
Yeah.
other. That's a whole other story. So okay, let's
But-
go back. let's go back to, okay, so it went, tell us about Harley Hart. How'd you get Harley Hartwell? So
Okay,
obviously you did get to come back.
I
It
did
wasn't
get to
your
come
one and
back,
only time.
and then I thought I was going to be fired again.
Really?
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a running theme with you.
It was a imposter syndrome galore was happening. So my second gig, I get called in by Mike to do Case Closed again. I was like bear player number 2. Okay. And then we finished the lines, and he says, "Okay, Kevin, I want you to, I'm going to have you audition for a character." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. Yeah, great." So his name is Harley Hartwell. He's this counterpart to the lead character of the show, and he comes in, and they solve crimes together. And he said, let's watch a couple of scenes so you kind of get the gist of his character. I said, okay,
So
so
you could
watch
see
that.
him. You could see him.
Yeah. Now this is
Okay.
a rare case. This is not
Yeah.
what happened. So what I should say first, so the normal audition process at the time at Funimation, they were always held Friday nights because they were in the Bank of America building between Dallas and Fort Worth. And you'd go up, you got 15 minutes, and there would be a big book full of all the main characters. And you pick 2 or 3 that you think you can nail.
Yeah.
And then you go in, you read, the director gives you some redirection, they may have you read for somebody else, and then you leave. And that's it. So this is where this changed a little bit. He says, Kevin, so we watched a couple of scenes, got the history of the character, saw the lines. No monitor, not matching flaps or anything. And I just go in the booth and I record. And he says he's a teenager, so got to kind of bring your voice up a little bit, a little younger. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Yeah, whatever. So I did that, and then he says, okay, Kevin, I like that. Let's go in the other booth in the other studio.
So are
And I'm
you
gonna
already thinking along this lines? Like this is bigger. This is different.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know the process yet. This is only my
Really?
second
Okay.
time in. I had never auditioned for anything before.
Okay.
It wasn't until after I found that this is where the variable happened. So we go over to another studio and I record like 3 lines to picture. And this is what was different. Okay. And I'm like, okay, great. I said, okay, I guess that was the audition. So I go home. 3 weeks later, I get a call saying, hey, Kevin, so you are Harley Hartwell. We need to book you for like 4 days because you have to record 2 two-parters in the same week. Now, this is when it was airing on Cartoon Network at night. Okay, so we are on a production schedule for airing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, not just DVD release. So I said, great. So I have like a 6-hour day book now compared to my 1 hour before, right?
Right. 1
So
hour
I
for
go
12 lines. Yeah.
Exactly. So I go into the studio and I'm with a different director now, and I'm like get a little nervous. His name is
No,
Chris
wait a minute.
Kazin. Yeah, his name is Chris Kazin, amazing director, has been a great friend to me over the years. So I go in. He says, "Oh, okay. So Kevin, you're an actor. The usual, like how long you been acting? Okay, your voiceover." I said, "Okay." Now this is the biggest lesson I learned from this is always ask to listen to your audition. Because I went in and I don't remember what I did. It was such a weird,
3 weeks
surreal
ago.
moment. It was 3 weeks ago, and I don't. And so I said, "Oh, okay, Harley." It's like, okay, let me try some things. He said, "Let's find the voice for you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great, yeah." And I didn't even think to ask. Now I ask every single time. And so I find a voice, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, I think I was a higher pitch. This is a little lower, And I mentioned this, and he says, "No, I like what you're doing. Let's just start recording." So we start recording this 2-parter, right? And so we finish like the first episode that day. And then the second day I come in and we start recording in this kind of new tone. And then there was a moment like right before lunch where through the glass, I see Mike come in and, they were kind of joking around, like looking at me and laughing, oh, whatever. And he leaves and Chris says, "Hey, Kevin, let's stop now. He needs you for a quick line of Harley," which again, I didn't know was out of the norm, and said, "Then
Yeah.
we'll do lunch and we'll come back." I said, "Great." So I go over to Mike. He says, "Yeah, I just need to record these 2 lines here real quick." And so I do the lines in the voice now that I've been doing for a day and a half. And the first thing Mike says, Kevin, he's younger. Remember, bring the voice up a little higher. And I'm like, oh gosh, I've messed this up.
Yeah.
So I do the voice, and it's starting to click, thinking back to that audition, right? So I go back to Chris, and I say, Chris, remember when I was kind of worried about the tone? I said, he just had me do it a higher tone. I don't know. I think I messed up here. And he says, you know what? I like what you're doing, man. I think we're going to just stick with this, and you'll just have to follow me. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the process is, you know? So I finished the day.
I would be extremely uncomfortable at this point.
Yes, I was like, okay. So that night, about 9:30, I get a phone call from the talent coordinator saying, Kevin, I'm supposed to go in at noon the next day to start the next two-parter with Mike. And she says, Kevin, is there any way you can come in like at 10 o'clock tomorrow? And so I had a great boss at the time at a day job, and I called him and he said, yeah, we'll work around it. You know, okay. I said, great. So I go at 10 a.m. the next day, and I go to Mike's studio thinking I'm starting the next two-parter with Mike. And I knock on the door, and it's like it opens up, and it's dark, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I go around to the corner, and there's Chris. Excuse me. And I say, Chris, is Mike here yet? I'm supposed to do. He says, actually, Kevin, you're with me today. I'm like, oh. He says, when you did your audition, did you record the picture? I'm like, yeah, I did. He says, well, here's what happened. Mike cast you in that moment.
Yeah.
And he had you record a trailer that has already gone out.
Oh, no.
So when the engineers were processing the 2 episodes I had just finished with Chris, their first note was, the voice is different.
Yeah.
We have to air on Friday night. So I spent the entire day having to re-record everything. And look, and the thing I tell about this is it's nobody's fault. I mean, I fell through the cracks on this, really, because you got to keep in mind, you know, Chris and Mike, when you're directing, you're worried about all the actors and dealing with the writers and the line producer. And this was just me falling through the cracks. You know, it's nobody's fault at all. But I mean, for me, like I said, I will ask every single time, can I hear my audition? Or do you have a reference? Yeah. So we had already fixed all the timing problems, all the script problems. So for the next 8 hours, I literally just listened to myself and then repeated the line in the proper tone. Yeah. But I drove away that night again thinking, well, that was a good experience.
Never gonna work again.
I will never work again in my life. Thankfully, I have. So
Harley Hart was a big deal. Like that's a pretty big.
He was my first reoccurring character, and I'm very thankful for him. But then the big one that hit that November was Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, and that's the one that really kind of brought my name. Yeah, yeah. And that's a funny one too, because now that was your traditional audition. I went on a Friday night,
like a big cattle call, like everybody, like a lot of people.
Call. I mean, if there's a 15-minute slot, like over 4 hours, they bring in the people they want to hear. So you're in and out. You're in and out like that, right? I got the book. I read for a couple characters. I never read for Cain Fury, which is what I was cast in. I read for a guy named Scar, and then a scientist that I kind of did the Fury voice for. Well, then I get an email saying I'm cast as Fury, and they said, we love the voice you did for the scientist, but we thought, oh my gosh, that should be Fury. Yeah. And that's where like I got an email from a fan when the show started airing and the popularity of it kind of exploded. And they said, we have these online chats every Saturday night after an episode. Would you like to come in and join? I did that for weeks, you know, just chatting with fans and learning about their love of the show and anime. And it was great. So that's really kind of when it started.
That was recurring as well, right?
That was a recurring thing. And then again, I have to owe everything to Mike McFarland on everything I've done, because I did season 1, and then I decided after a few years, I was in a weird acting place, and I decided to take a break from Funimation. I didn't want to audition. You know, there's some stuff going on.
Why would you do that?
Well, that's also when I got the teaching job in San Antonio. So no, I take that back. No, that was afterwards. No, that's when I decided to move back to LA. Yes, more video. I'm working on that. I just got my video game demo is in production right now to give out to studios. So
have you done any video games? You've done some.
Oh yeah,
right?
I've done League of Legends, where maybe I'll get into it, but I've been recast 3 times now as of 2 weeks ago. It sucks. This business.
You know what? It's because you're that good, Kevin. They can't
take me.
They just can't figure out where to put you.
It's just too good.
Slay, thank you. That is enormously kind, my friend. Enormously kind.
So what happened? So I moved to LA,
Yeah.
and I get an email, and so the second season of Sword Art Online is going into production, called Brotherhood, and I figured they're just going to recast.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is you see Fury a lot. He doesn't talk much in season 2. So I thought, it's not financially, because anime is a very low paying job.
Right.
Um,
And if he's
and
not talking a lot, it's probably even less, right?
even,
Like
exactly.
You've got way less lines to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's no financial reason for me to buy a flight all the way back to Texas to work for an hour that wouldn't even cover it. Anyway, but then what does Mike do? He emails me out of nowhere and says, "Kevin, can you get to a studio?" And I said, "Well, what?" He says, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to record Fury's dialogue in the performance and the timing to flaps that I need you to match. And I just need you to mimic it in Fury's voice." So I email Bang Zoom and I say, "Hey, how much would it be to rent a studio?" Bang Zoom is one of the big anime production companies here in LA. And I said, "How much is it to rent for an hour in engineer and studio space?"
That can't be cheap, man.
No, well, I don't know, because they said, "Kevin, no, just come in and do it."
Yeah.
And because what they did, it was really cool. They turned it into a learning experience. So they would bring in a new engineer with an experienced one, and they kind of make it a little, a trade-off. I get my lines recorded, and they make it a little actual recording session to learn how to work with a dubbing actor. So they didn't charge me a dime, and
Wow.
they love the character. Mami Okuda, who's the casting director, just said, "We love Fury. Anything we can do to help."
What a charmed experience, man.
Well, it was so beautiful, and again, another person I'm so thankful is Mami Okuda over at Bang Zoom for everything that she's done for me as an actor here.
Yeah.
Because again, I was me being a dumbass, because I knew I was moving out here. I came out here with for a family reunion, and I just put together a DVD and a kind of, because I directed a little bit too, and as a package, and I just emailed Bang Zoom saying, "Hey, I'm so and so from Funimation. I'm moving out here. Can I drop this off?" And that's just kind of how it went,
Just making a call again. He made me laugh. Kevin made me laugh.
Oh, shall we talk about that?
When he broke me.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so I believe my line was, so, and I'm going to over enunciate so I don't do it again.
Sure.
I had a line of, "So you want to run away?"
Yes, it was the opening scene where Stanley.
Yeah.
So I have just arrived at the camp, right?
Yeah.
And John, the fabulous John, is it Mr. Sir?
I don't know.
I think it was Mr. Sir.
Yeah.
And he's giving me all the instructions, and the threats, and then you say that line.
But here's the thing, this was a children's theater, where they brought in it was 800 kids a show, many shows a day.
Yeah.
Like it was
2 shows a day. Oh, sometimes 3.
Yeah, so you're just like running. You're on a loop. You're just running through it. A lot of times, not thinking what you're doing. So
exactly.
I'm just talking. It's like, so it comes out, and it's one of the, man. You just want to get it back so bad. It just comes out. You want to run away?
Let me tell you, the strength and mental power it took me
for you not to
laugh at me. I'm looking directly in your eyes, and I hear that.
You want to run away?
I have a choice. I have a choice to make. Do I?
And you
just
took the
come
mean
back
one.
I took them. Well, I was trying to be consistent with what your character presented to me. So I am breathing. I am sweating buckets.
Yeah.
My
You're
whole body is
sweating
clenched.
buckets.
I'm always sweating buckets. I'm freaking fat. Well, of course I am. And I look John in the eye.
Dead in the eye.
Say, "Do I want to run away?"
And I knew at that moment I had messed up. Like I knew, it's like, God damn it. And then he says it right back to me, and I'm like, "You son of a bitch." And it's like, right, it was at that point, you're on stage in front of 800 kids, and my mind goes to, "You son of a," and it's like it was over after that. I had to turn away. I was just dying. I was
turned upstage away.
I had to turn upstage.
Yeah. But now you almost got me back though. I can't remember if it was the same. It must have been the same performance, because I'm in that hole digging, and I later on in the play I say a line. I told you I wouldn't. I might have said, I told you I wouldn't run away, and you came
Yeah.
out with me that shovel. You came full charge
Because you would not let it go.
It was an elevated set, so we had these
Oh my
holes, and
God.
so just our heads were. It was a great set.
It was a really cool set.
Our heads were just popping out, and he was of course walking around us, so we're boot to head, and I couldn't pass it up. Come on.
Yeah.
You loved it. You loved it.
You stuck with it. Yeah, it was a play. It was a play.
It was great. Yes, it was a play and a movie. Yeah, yeah.
So Kevin was our Shia LaBeouf at that point.
I was, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He's much richer than I am right now.
So I've broken plenty of people, but you are the one and only that has broken me, sir.
Yeah.
To this point.
But another thing I was just thinking, completely different, just how we met, and I'm so thankful.
I don't remember how we met. I mean, I know we met at the theater.
We met at the theater, but I'll never forget the first day because either you or I were wearing a Green Lantern shirt. Because that's how the conversation started.
That could have been either one of us.
It could have been either one of us.
Yeah.
I remember you were moving into the office downstairs at the theater, and I came in, and I saw somehow one of us made the connection, and we're like, oh, I think we're gonna like each other.
Oh, you're my people.
We just started talking comics pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And then it was a friendship that's I'm so thankful for having you in my life, and I'm sorry that like when you called me last week out of the blue, which again I was in a moment, and I thank you for your patience with me.
I must have felt something. I must have.
You must have. Because it has been much too long.
It's been way too long, my friend. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't want to ever let that happen again. Okay,
no.
mushy time is over.
Mushy time is over. I didn't even call for this. I can't even remember what I was calling for. Just to say, hey, I think.
Yeah. You just I think you said I popped in your mind, and So, but John has been an amazing. I'm so excited about this whole new. This book thing is amazing.
Well, yeah, it's weird because. We love comics, and we would go to the comic shop all the time between shows and talk comics and hang out. And then I opened my own shop, and you worked there with me, and
that was amazing.
Yeah. So it's like you know how much I love books and everything. And remember you were always passing those Casca Eternal Warrior books around. I mean,
Oh yeah.
We've been in on this for a while. It's like I had not been happy with what I've been reading for a good while. You get your same authors, and I want something new, and I'd look up a list, GQ's list of what they think is the best last year or something, and I'd go buy something and try it out, and it's like, God, I just was not finding what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me in technology, right? Like it's like I said, well, I think I've heard something like BookTube. I'm gonna go on YouTube and see if I can. And I found, Mike's book reviews first. I just found people, and it's like, oh my God! Like I started reading things that they were recommending, and it's like, these are my people. This is what I've been.
They know what to find.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what I've been looking for, and then it just got to the point where it's like, I want to have fun. I want to be in on this. I think I can. And then Jakob put all this together for me.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. Now, has your interest in
this isn't my interview, Kevin?
Oh, sorry. I do this all the time. Sorry, I do this. So I've got two buddies of mine. I'll share this real quick. So I love my 6 degrees of separation now that I have. Right. So I've got my 6 degrees to Pee Wee's Playhouse with Vic Trevino.
With Vic Trevino.
I call this my 6 degrees to Iron Maiden. I'm over here, but
you got to tell that story.
I'll tell this story real quick.
Okay.
So my favorite all-time band is Iron Maiden, and all the iterations of singers they've had. Meaning there was a guy, they hired a singer in the 90s called Blaze Bayley, and he only lasted a couple of albums. I like them. It's a whole other story. But they ended up bringing the original singer back. So Blaze went solo, and I've followed his solo career since then. And he's done crowdfunding for his albums, and I love his music, and he talks about about his depression and the journey he's been on to stay as a relevant heavy metal singer, which he's done, through so much pressure and anything. So, he hadn't toured America in years, probably a good 15 years.
Yeah.
And he came and did a show. He was writing a trilogy. Again, going back to writing and storytelling, he was doing a trilogy based on this science fiction story he was writing.
Have you read it?
He hasn't finished the book,
Okay.
But the
okay.
3 albums follow the story of the main character. It's brilliant. I think it's awesome. And so he's doing a show. He did a show in 2017, and I went to go see that at the world famous Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Which is
Comes
closed
back.
now, isn't it? Didn't they close the whiskey?
No. You're thinking of the Key Club. Whiskey A Go Go is
okay.
still strong. The Key Club has gone away.
What about the Roxy's? The Roxy's still going?
The Roxy's gone.
Okay.
I think the Roxy's gone. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So
I'm sorry.
2019, they come back. They're invited back. The one show on the West Coast. So I go down, my usual thing. I take a picture of the marquee, and I'm like, Blaze Bayley up the irons. And so I make a post about it on Instagram. Now on my Instagram profile, I've got I've got some anime titles up there, right? And so then I noticed that the bass player likes it. A guy named Carl Schramm. And I'm like, oh, Senpai noticed me. Oh my gosh,
Notice me.
Yes. And then he messages me.
Yeah.
And he says, dude, I'm freaking out right now. My girlfriend, his now lovely wife.
the bass player messages you?
The bass player messages me.
Okay.
And says, Kevin, I'm freaking out right now. My girlfriend and I just got into anime, and Heathcliff from Sword Art Online is like our favorite villain. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. So I watch the show. They always do a meet and greet afterwards. I race upstairs. I say, hi, I'm Kevin. I'm Heathcliff. And so we shake hands, and then, they have to go pack up their stuff real quick. And Blaze is outside signing autographs till 1 in the morning. Sure. And I try to race in. It was like a bromance, it'd be like you and me running to each other. Like, I want a picture with you. No, I want a picture with you. And I've since gotten to know their guitar player, Luke Appleton, as well. And we actually try to stream on Tuesdays when they're not touring. We do a gaming stream. Oh. But they were. I'm going to see them in September in Ireland.
Yeah.
And they got.
You're
Blaze
going to
Bayley.
Ireland?
I'm going to Ireland. Yeah, I haven't been in years.
Just to see the mother. Just to go back to the mother country.
Oh, friends and family. My dad's there right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's his 60th. This is the weird thing. I'm the son of an ex-Catholic priest. So
that explains a lot, Kevin.
That explains a lot. Yeah. He actually went back. It's his 60th anniversary from graduating from seminary. Wow. So he's going to go see who's alive left. My dad, he's still kicking at 82. I can't slow him down.
That is amazing.
But I haven't been since 2009. I went for an anime convention. So Blaze is going to be there on tour. I haven't seen my family, and so I'm going to go in September to kind of kill 2 birds. Actually, I'm going to see if I can become a guest at Northern Ireland Comic Con the weekend before and make some money. So we'll see.
There you go.
All sorts of plans. But then
see, look at this. Slay says Bayley was underrated.
Oh, completely underrated. Maybe you Slay, you might agree with me on this, because if you know Silicon Messiah, his first solo album that came out right after he quit the band, he was fired, I should say. That I think it blows Brave New World out of the water, and I think that they heard it and thought we just didn't know how to use Blaze. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But then my other, I just had a great moment. I was just at Hollywood Show because I wanted to get Gates McFadden's autograph. I have that. Do you remember that bizarre cover that they did? It was a black and white photo shoot. They're all wearing black coats, kind of back to back, and
yeah.
I've got a mini poster of that my goal is to get signed by everybody. So I went to go see. So I used to go to a gym for nerds in LA called A Hero's Journey, which came out of the ashes of another nerd gym called Nerd Strong. And an actor came to join us. He had to lose weight for he was on a show called 12 Monkeys.
Yeah.
And an actor, and so by the name of Todd Stashwick, who is now very famously known as playing Captain Liam Shaw.
God, he was so good.
Picard season 3.
He was so good.
I was working out next to him for a year, not knowing I'm working out next to a Starfleet captain.
Dude, how can you? How? Like, I would have seen.
He couldn't say. He couldn't say anything.
They hadn't aired.
They shot it a year before it aired.
Oh my gosh!
And so 2 people knew, I think, in the gym. One because she works in payroll through Paramount, and she saw the pay. But coolest guy. So that's my little connection and my inspiration to be on Star Trek.
So you got to see if he can get you in.
I know, right? No, he's the sweetest guy. He plays D&D all the time. He is actually working on a Kickstarter to create this whole like 70s bass, like what they're making an album and a cartoon and music to
wow.
play. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, huge fellow geek. Yeah, it's
So
great.
have you watched all of Lower Decks?
I love Lower Decks.
Oh, it's the best.
I'm one season behind on Discovery just because of timing and I'm in just work. So I'm going to catch up like in
And
2
it was their
weekends.
last season. It was not their best season. I'm
Was
just
it
gonna
not?
say
Oh, no.
I'm so bummed because I've liked that show, but it was
Yeah.
they did not go out on their best season. But what I will say is their last hour, like their last episode, right? Like
Yeah.
Star Trek does that hopeful sentimentality, like they
Yeah.
just better than anyone. They nail their last hour.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Great.
the
Now, and the
the
last season was around that, but it was based on a Next Generation episode.
Yeah,
With that alien, right? The hologram.
yeah.
That was
progenitors. Yeah.
the progenitor. That was my acting teacher from grad school,
Get out of town.
Salome Jens, who also was the leader of the Dominion shapeshifter on DS9.
Dude, you have so many connections.
I will never forget the day she was probably in her 60s when she was teaching us, but she'd been a dancer all her life. So I mean, she just floated into class, right? I mean, just
I hate those
grace.
people.
Grace incarnate. And I remember, I'll never forget the day she came in saying, "Hello, class. We might have to meet at Paramount. I've got 6 weeks of Star Trek to film." And I was like, "What? Oh my God!" They worked
And she
around her
probably could care
schedule.
less. Yeah,
She couldn't care. Yeah, no,
She could care less.
She was. I will tell you, from an acting standpoint, though, she and I butted heads our first year because
really.
it was because she trained under Strasberg, and that's what she was teaching us. And see, I'm Stanislavski, which I know Strasberg, but I didn't get Strasberg my first year. We were sitting for 3 months drinking a glass of orange juice. I didn't get it.
Yeah. Are you
but
serious? You spent 3 months drinking a glass of orange juice
learning how to drink a glass of orange juice
without a glass of
it,
orange juice.
it might have been like a month, but but it was. I understood it later. I mean, I do want to study Strasberg a little bit more, but that's a whole other. We could talk about that for freaking hours.
Yeah, I'm all Stanislavski. I was taught by
Well,
Stanislavski.
that's
That
what
was all-
I had
that was
incarnate
all-
word. It was all
that was all my
Stanislavski.
training. Yeah.
Did you ever study
Because-
Meisner at all?
I took some classes. Yeah,
I've never studied
It's really
Meisner.
good for reaction and listening. It's good to key in listening, but for me, it's all Stanislavski, man. Like all my training it was the last. I was taught by the last surviving member of Mikhail Chekhov's final class.
I didn't know. Oh my gosh, dude.
That's where most of my training came from.
That's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means, we're just nerding out about weird stuff now.
We
no one
are.
cares. So
Well,
let's talk.
But, wait. One more connection now. You may not know this one. So, I was. Do you know the name Mark Dacascos?
Yeah.
He was in
heard that.
John Wick 3. He was the bold assassin. He's the nephew on Iron Chef America. He was the crow in the TV series.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So so I'm back in San Antonio for my mom's birthday because I missed Christmas. I was sick, and I see he's doing a signing at this little pop store at the outskirts of San Antonio. So I go out there because I get a little crow thing, But I know of him because our movement teacher, by the name of Mestre Amin Santos, who was a capoeira teacher, the breaking art, the breakdancing martial art, as they used to kind of
Brazilian
call it. Brazilian
dance.
Exactly.
Kick your butt. Yeah.
So he was our movement teacher in grad school, and he would talk about Mark, because Mark did his first major film, which was capoeira based. Anyway, so I go to mention this to him. I said, I know you because of Mestre Amin Santos in LA. And he says, oh my gosh. I said, I'm going back to LA. I haven't seen him in years. I need to go see him. He says, Kevin, I do a Shakespeare class for free at his studio. Would you like to come? Which I just did last Saturday for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And it was
Awesome.
amazing. So, I mean, yeah, I'm very lucky. I mean, all these amazing talent. Anyway, let's get back to I see, you know me, I won't shut up now.
Yeah. No. I mean, okay. So wait. Okay. So
yes.
Sword Art Online. Let's
Sword
cover
Art
that
Online.
one.
Yes.
That's a biggie, right? That's a biggie.
That was a biggie. That was done here in LA. That one I did through Bang Zoom.
So
Yeah.
you starting to feel like you hit the big time here in LA.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm thankful getting the auditions. College, oh, absolutely. Oh man, I was a terrible. But see, here's the thing, and I got to thinking about this too, is that like especially when I made the decision, and this was not my smartest decision after I left the Magic, I would work mornings
Yeah.
at Salt,
Mm-hmm.
go to lunch, and then work afternoons at the Josephine.
Ugh.
And I was a carpenter,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say.
I was a carpenter. I did lighting in the cellar, and I'll never forget that Jim Mamarella. I forget the Big Kahuna, which I think Kevin Spacey did a movie of under a different name. But they did the Big Kahuna in the Cellar Theater, and I lit it like George Burnett taught me. I don't care how. I mean, I tried to light it like a full stage, and I remember Jim Mamarella coming up to me and saying, "Kevin, this is the first time that this space looks like a theater
Oh,
because
that's
of my
nice.
lighting." And I love Jim. I love Jim.
Jim's one of
A quick side thing.
No one knows Jim. Who are we talking about?
Who are we talking about?
Jim's one of my favorite people of all time.
Yeah, and then I mean, I just will say that
this is cool. All female cast of the Scottish play.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That is awesome.
I got to see. I was doing a convention in Saskatchewan, Canada. Actually, the week that I found out I might have testicular cancer, so the whole weekend I'm trying to be like, "Thanks for coming, nice to meet you." Oh, I thank you for liking my character. In my head,
I can't think of anything but my nuts.
Exactly, exactly. These nuts. No. do the kids still say that? I'm so behind.
I don't know.
That's cray. I don't know.
I'm to the point where I spray people with a hose on my front lawn.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Get off my lawn.
I've gotten to be so old. It's unbelievable.
But then too, one of my other favorite people, just to mention, because I don't think we talked about it, but Bill Gundry.
No.
I talked to him the day he passed that morning.
Are you serious?
I was helping him with his senior play company, and we had a video chat that morning, and I'll never forget. I said, "I'll see you tomorrow, buddy," and then I got the call.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what? I'm mad at myself because we only did 2 shows together.
Yeah.
Early in my career.
I think we did one.
Every time I would come home for the holidays or something, and we go have coffee at Jim's. I can't go to Jim's anymore. We would say we've got to find a show.
Yeah.
I will fly back. There we are. Anyway,
was one of the people. Bill was one of those guys that did theater with us, and it's like, oh my God, you wanted to do a show with Jim because theater stories only work when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever tells a theater story like, I'll never forget that production. Everything went perfectly. No one tells that story. No. That doesn't matter. Those stories don't exist.
Absolutely
what exists is when the wheels fall off the wagon, like, that's a great theater story.
That's a great theater story,
when you did a show with Gundry, he would always do something that would cause a story. Like, I'll never forget when we were doing Inherit the Wind.
Oh, my gosh.
And Gundry was in it. And another actor we've worked with, Dan McLaughlin.
Dan McLaughlin. Oh, boy.
Yeah. And so Dan was so serious about it. And he's like, Bill. And Bill was the minister. And so he didn't have a lot to do. So he would just make up his own business, own stuff to do. And I'm going to make it to every person and shake their hand because I'm the town minister. And Dan is one of the attorneys. So he's got all of his stuff. He's coming into the courtroom. And he's like, Bill, please stop doing that. I'm trying to I really have a lot to do.
Yeah.
Bill. I can't, there's just nothing, you're really, it's really, and from then on, every night, Bill would go straight to Dan.
I love it.
It's like the first person he would try and hit would be Dan. And it's like I would just watch them because, one would just look at the other like,
yeah.
Every night we're doing this
every night. Yeah.
Bill
man.
was one of the best, man.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I don't know. Sword Art Online.
Sword Art Online. Yeah. So that just came as a regular audition, and that one I happened to book. And now that was a weird one too, though, because of those who know the story, Heathcliff is the digital avatar of the character who creates the game in the show.
Okay.
So when I read for it, it was going to be this. Both sets of dialogue for each character were there.
Yeah.
So my assumption is I'm voicing both characters, but then I get cast, and come to find out, no, I'm just voicing Heathcliff, and there's another actor for I guess for vocal variants and something
Sure.
Tried to affect the personality a little bit more, I guess, storytelling wise. But that was but yeah, then I now I'll share this, like, 'cause I'm going to pick them up next Wednesday. Do you know the name Ben Dunn?
Oh yeah.
So
From comics.
comics, Warrior Nun, Ariella,
Warrior Nun, yeah.
Ninja High School. I followed him since I was in 8th grade because I found out I went to St. Luke's Catholic in San Antonio, and I'll never forget. I was working conventions at the time. There was a guy he would pay me with Arby's and comics.
Oh, that's a good gig.
To walk around that once a month at the Marriott or something, that little comic show, where I also met Henry Thomas for the first time. And I'm walking down the hallway at school, and I just happened to look up, and they had the big photo frames of all like previous classes, and I just turned my head, and boom, there's Ben Dunn. I'm like, what? So he had been at the same middle school that I went to, but I just got a brand new print of Heathcliff drawn by him for sale coming up. So I'm going to try and get like a bunch of stuff by him because he's one of the OG manga artists here, American manga artists.
Yeah, American manga.
Marvel Mangaverse. He did all that,
Yeah.
And you know what? I just thought about this. He told the story of how he got that gig. He just made a pitch and sent it to Marvel to see what they'd say.
Just like out of the blue?
Just like that. He had an idea, drew up some pages, gave a synopsis.
See, this is the theme of the night, man. Calling Funimation, just going into Bang Zoom.
It never hurts to ask.
Calling Marvel, it never. You got to dream it. Just pick up the phone. It never hurts.
Pick up the phone and do something.
Yeah,
it's great. Yeah,
absolutely.
But,
Kevin? What would you say people know you the most from? Is it Full Metal Alchemist or is it Sword Art?
Full Metal Alchemist probably. Yeah, King Fury. That's still going to be the one that always comes back. And then Full Metal Alchemist, and then I'd say League of Legends, Vladimir.
Really?
Even though I've been recast 3 times, but
dude, that game is crazy huge.
Oh, I played it once, and I was just like,
I can't play those. I have to do single player. Where I sit alone and I can throw the controller because if I play with other people, I can't do anything but die.
I can't do it. Yeah, let's be honest. Some of these can get very toxic with the people who play.
Well, and they're so good.
They're so good.
They're so good,
and they will get mad at you. So
I piss people off because I'm horrible.
I'm terrible.
I'm absolutely horrible.
I can't make a headshot to save my life.
But God, no! Who can do that?
Right. I remember when I bought Star Wars Battlefront, my first and only time I went, stood in line, got the midnight release, then you find out it takes 4 hours to download onto Xbox, whatever. And I'm there at 4 a.m. and I try to start the game, headshot. I'm like, oh, okay, let me go into a different area. I'm in the game, headshot. Like,
headshot.
What the hell is going on? Anyway, those are probably the 3 that I get most asked about. I mean, my goal obviously is, I get auditions all the time, and so I'm I'll.
You want the biggie? You need the biggie.
I need the biggie, and again, I just had my video game demo done. It's in final production right now, and so that's what I'll be sending out to video game studios. And took a motion capture class a few years ago. That's pretty crazy.
What is that like? Like, what? Tell me what that is like, because here's what I think from the way outside, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think about the stuff you do, right?
Yeah.
With the animation, and then you think about motion capture, and then you think about where AI is going, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, aren't we kind of going backwards in the craft? Aren't we wearing a mask again? Isn't it going all back to the Greeks?
Yeah.
Like we're not using the instrument anymore.
Yeah. That's a very valid viewpoint that I think, and AI is a whole other conversation. And
oh man,
and I mean, I hate to say this, especially because it's like the company I work for. I do production management, and we do a variety of. We do fiction, we do nonfiction, but and I found a narrator on TikTok who's producing a number of. I'm going to buy one to support her. It's called. It was like hashtag AI can't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Human voices only, that hasn't got to that level yet of being that emotional by taking a text.
Yeah.
But stuff like e-learning, where you don't need that, you just need a voice to describe whatever. I mean, that can be done in 20 minutes by.
It's here to stay, man. It's not going away.
No, it's not.
Okay, I don't want to miss any. I don't want to miss any of your big roles in anime, right?
Yes. Okay.
Do we have any left?
I mean. Those are probably the biggest, right? Yeah.
Those
I
are the
mean,
biggest?
the most recent things I've done is I'm the narrator on Welcome to Demon School, which is a fun 3-season show. And then I was a narrator on Rurouni Kenshi.
Oh, that's a biggie.
That's a biggie. Yeah.
I've heard of that. Even I've heard of
got,
that.
well, it's got a little controversy behind the fact that I remember I got the audition saying it will not be held against you if you decide to pass. There was something with the original creator and I believe some underage. Yeah. Anyway, allegations, whatever. But I did that, you know. So, but Sword Art, Full Metal, and League of Legends. Oh, and then Ace Combat 7, which is a flight simulator game. Well, I've gotten a lot of love for that. AWACS Bandog is his name.
I'm pretty sure that's why people say 7's the best out of that series.
It might be. I mean, people have been very generous in their compliments on my character to the point where, like, I think they were going to try and get a DLC made of just me or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Me just spitting my, my dialogue anyway. But, yeah.
Go ahead. I cut you off.
Well, just to jump back to motion capture real quick.
That's
I saw a great description of it. So what as a motion capture actor, and there's two kinds of motion capture actors. You've got your athletes and martial artists who do all the movement, have to learn how to, because the movement's got to be exact for at least 4 meters. And then you got to go backwards and then this way and this way, and all your fight scenes. Where I would like to fit in is all the cut scenes, all the cinematics, And I saw a motion capture teacher put it like this: it's cinematic voice acting with theatrical body movement. So where you've got to kind of have that, the camera's right in your face kind of dialogue.
Right.
What are you doing? But you've got to go, what do you do? Get the big motion in there for the cameras to capture all the markers so that it can digitize your movements and recognize it. I will say, obviously I'm still a bigger guy, and I took the combat class, learning how to hold different guns, and a gun could be a foam tube with a piece of wood in it. You have to imagine, And so I was surrounded by young martial artists and dancers and movement people, and there was a 6-foot tall guy next to me who was enjoyed food as much as I had at the time. Because these suits leave nothing to the imagination.
Oh, no, they're skin tight, right?
They are skin tight. And I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, "Kevin, do you feel like a 50-pound sausage in a 10-pound casing?" And I'm like, yeah, it's a little snug.
Does it show?
Yeah. So I've got a muffin top on top of a muffin top. It was, but it was a blast. I loved it so much. And then I took what was called vocap, which came out of James Cameron's Avatar movie, and all the development of all that technology is that it's a helmet with with
an
orchestra.
Camera.
Well, no camera.
Oh, no camera?
But with just the microphone. But but then you're voice acting with other actors in the scene, and the subtleties it picks up is things you would never think about if you were just by yourself. So, for example, I had a scene where I was a general looking up at this big screen. This is a husband and wife team who teach this, and they run a studio out of their home, and they have this big long room that you can move around in and act in, and they've got these huge monitors where the script is up, so you just look for your lines. Wow. Because they're not filming you, but you can act with the other actors. So like a great example is, I'm supposed to be this general looking, and then the lead character of the game is supposed to open a door, come in out of a snowstorm, and then stand to me. We have this little bit of dialogue, right? And so then we talk, whatever, and then he has to go back outside, and I say, like, watch your ass out there. And he's supposed to open the door, turn back, and say, "General, it's snowing so bad I can't even see my ass out there." Now, I turned my head when I said that line, which adds a little strain in the voice because you're turning your neck muscles, right? Which I never would have thought of if I'm sitting looking at a script with me, myself, and I had a microphone. So just that little tension that changes the voice. And he said that line, and I just naturally went, "Huh," and turned back. There was no chuckle written in the script. That was just me naturally responding. Video game producers love that. And so this new technique of filming with other actors, but just recording your voice,
Yeah.
is another technique that they're using now, which I think is
Wow.
fantastic. Yeah.
See, that adds the human interaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you get the little human noises and nuances that, again,
Yeah.
if I'm sitting at a microphone like this, saying, okay, line number 27, watch your ass out there. That's all I would have done.
Yeah.
So
Because you're not
it's
getting
amazing.
any follow-up line. You're not getting
Exactly.
a follow-up
You're getting
line.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is it like the Andy Serkis playing Gollum stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
We had to learn, you have to learn things like, how to stand properly. Or like, so we were given a scene that I have to be a guy that comes in, hand on holster, pull the gun out, fire 3 shots, drop the magazine, replace magazine, get off my knee and go forward.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, I'll just go do that, right? Well, you have to think about, so they can't put a holster on your suit because the computer will never pick it up. So you have to hold the gun by your hip as if it's in a holster. Then you have to think about, okay, I have to lift the gun out of the holster and bring my hand forward. I can't just bring my hand forward because...
So we're right back to movement class. You're right back to mime
absolutely.
and movement class. Yeah.
Mime and movement. You have to lift the gun out. You have to release it.
Kevin,
lift the magazine.
It's all that time drinking that glass of orange juice, Kevin.
It is.
You gotta go back.
Strasbourg.
You gotta go back, man. You gotta go back.
It's crazy, but I love it. I hope to do more of it.
Well,
but
I hope
no,
you
you're
do
right.
too.
It's all movement. It's all understanding movement and how everything relates to your body. Like, and then things like, when you see in a video game where, you sneak up behind somebody, you grab their head and slit their throat, right?
Yeah.
Well, at the time, the technology may have changed, but we couldn't be that close.
Really?
Because the cameras wouldn't pick it up properly.
Okay.
So I literally would step about 5 steps back. I would still walk forward and then mime grabbing, and the actor's still in front of me, and he's miming the reaction as if I was holding his head and getting his throat.
And then the computer tracks both.
Composites together. So you had to get the timing right. 1, 2, 3, head back, because if it's off just a little bit, you have to do it again.
They can't put it together.
You have to do it again.
I'm telling you, man, this is all body. I'm telling you, we're back to masks and chorus members.
Mask and nonverbal communication with the body.
Yeah, chorus. We're chorus members. It's all the way back to the Greeks.
All the way back. Yeah, it's insane.
That's weird. That's weird how stuff goes around. So before we lose time, man, I want to cover because people do love them some audiobooks. I want you to talk about.
Yes. Oh, wow.
Because look, everyone think like hey, I'm a good reader. I could do this. Like tell us what it has to be an entire skill set.
So what I learned about voiceover is, every theme genre you have to approach it differently. Like you approach animation a certain way, video games a certain way. You have to approach audiobooks a certain way. They are a beast to do first and foremost. I got into it again by writing an email. Honestly, I was invited back to Incarnate Word to do The Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody looked me up at the time because I was going to do some voiceover classes as well. They all thought I was Kevin Connolly from Entourage. I was like, that's why I'm Kevin.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah,
look, Britton just said.
Yeah. Now, see, okay. So, quick side note. This is why so there's a union rule that no 2 actors can have the same name.
That's why you got the M.
Exactly. Famously, Michael Keaton is actually Michael Douglas, So when I started at Funimation, I made sure that I as often as I could, I say, please credit me as Kevin M. Connolly. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is that obviously he has a lot more hair than I do. He's probably much richer than I am. And he was born 10 days before I was, the bastard. No, I'm kidding. Kevin, you're a great guy. Really, really, don't sue me for anything.
Yeah.
But
we're name brothers.
Exactly.
That's why I have to have Junior in my
that's right.
SAG stuff. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah. So I was invited back to do so they all looked me up, and then they said, oh, he's the voice actor guy, And I was in the green room probably about a month into rehearsals, and one of the tech students just out of the blue just comes up to me and says, "Hey, Kevin, one of my good friends is like a producer at an audiobook company." And instantly I'm like, "Here's my, is there an email I can
Here's
write
my
to them?
card. Yeah.
Here's my card." And so I wrote to them right away. And my contact at the time, Jenny, she's now been promoted a number of times in the upper echelon. But she says, "Yeah, Kevin, we hold auditions. Maybe I'll, when we have another batch I might feel you might fit, I'll send you an audition." 2 months later, I got an audition, and my first audiobook was a set of 4 young adult novels.
Mm.
Were the first one, they were horror based, which I loved.
No, that's awesome.
Quick side note, I'm now in my 12th year with the company.
Wow.
Out of that email, I've been a production manager for a couple of years. I'm a proofer. I'm an editor. And I still do. I've got to record after this. I've got 6 books to record after this. 6 graphic novels.
Wow. How do you record graphic novels? Like,
so what? It's like a motion comic.
Oh,
basically.
I see. All right.
So I record the dialogue, and then they kind of apply it just like yeah. So I get this.
This is why I can't do audiobooks, man. This is why I can't do audiobooks. I cannot listen to audiobooks. Is because I'll find myself like, I don't know. I don't think I'd have made that choice.
Exactly.
And the next thing you know, 3 or 4 pages have gone by. I don't know what's going on in the book because I'm tuned into the person between me and the words.
Performance. Yeah.
I can't stop it. I can't stop it.
I had that problem when I would go to theater. I'd look at lighting. I would, I'm not a great lighting designer, but I'd always look at it. It's like, oh wait, I would have done that's the wrong gel for that,
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's a challenge, and especially so the first book I had, the 4 leads are 4 high school girls, and I'm like, why'd
they get you to read that?
Well, I mean, that it's a batch of books that they wanted one narrator, and they liked me. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I was terrified.
Yeah.
I've never recorded. I've never edited myself, so I'm learning. I mean, I had a microphone at the time, and I had a setup at home to do auditions and stuff. And so I went online, just looking at advice and listening to other people. Like a great example, like Zachary Quinto is an amazing audiobook narrator.
Yeah, James Marsters really good too.
Yeah, James Marsters.
There's a guy that does the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. I think his name is Jeff Hayes. Somebody hit me up.
Yeah.
Somebody hit me up in the chat. It's like he does. It's like Sound Design Studio or something. Man, he is so good. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That just reminded me though. So I've noticed a big thing, and I think this is because of the threat of AI. And which is I've got to start pushing this for myself now. It seems to me on Audible, 2 big things are happening. There's a lot now of celebrity full cast recordings of stuff, because I just saw one with Andrew Garfield and Tom Hardy doing a piece together, with Andy Serkis and all these other actors. And then the other thing is now they're trying to promote like who narrates the book is becoming a bigger deal. It's no longer just narrated by. They're putting a photo of the narrator saying, "Guess she just narrated this book, and you like her in anime and video games. You should get the audiobook," right?
Sure.
So that's something I've been thinking about, because I think that's with the threat of AI is they want to make sure that there's a human connection.
People.
Exactly. So that's why I got to build all that up.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for advice anywhere I can get it, and the best piece of advice in that moment, before I start recording this thing, because I don't want to talk like a girl like this.
No, you're going to get nailed for that.
Well, I just had to do a casting for.
Although I'm telling you, Jeff Hayes he can do it's
everything.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was a cast of thousands, and it's like mostly
it's
this
one person.
Guy. Yeah.
I'd love to get to that level. I'm still learning. Getting into voiceover really. I mean, because you and me, we know we've had vocal training and learning the mask and where to put things. But with voiceover, you really have to fine tune where things go and the accessibility of more characters that you can do it that way. Like I'm about to start learning how to do, or I want to learn how to do death metal singing, because that will translate into me being able to do character voices and creature voices without hurting my throat area.
Without blowing out your trachea, yeah.
Exactly, which was, some actors have had I mean, I've heard horror stories of people coming out of video game sessions, bleeding from their throat,
Oh
and
yeah.
they can't audition for a week because their voice is shot. So
Yeah.
it's been, so the advice I found was, when a male is doing a female, I mean, there's little subtleties, you can, lighten the voice, make it a little breathier, airier, but it's all about the attitude.
Mm.
Keep the attitude at the forefront.
Yeah.
So I had the smart girl, the lead girl. I had the goth girl. Yeah, I guess so. I had the little wispy girl. Yep. Okay.
Mm.
And you just find the attitude of it, and that's what carried me forward. And I've done about 500 different audio projects in the last 10 years because of that. Yeah. I mean, I graphic novels. I got the Grover ones, which was awesome.
You got to be
Um,
Grover?
Grover, unofficially, not officially
Yeah,
completely
yeah, yeah.
sanctioned, but I
Not
got to.
Henson sanctioned.
Right, but yeah, no, there was a cute little book with Grover in it that I got to
Oh,
do,
that's
so that was a lot of
cool.
fun. And I will say, I'm a little every summer I would be doing Greek myth story books, and I was like, there's only so much of the same story just drawn a different way I can take.
Y- y-
Like, I'm
What
tired of the Cyclops.
is there, because when you listen, like, what about when we have an audiobook?
Yeah.
Why can't we make it a different experience? Why do we have to do the whole he said, she said? Why do we have to say every word in there? Why can't we
Uh,
make it more like a reader's theater situation?
yeah.
Because it's an audio performance.
Yeah, yeah. That's where you're getting into, I think, legalities of what the author wants to hear. It's because you're working with a script that somebody else wrote,
Right. So every
and
word has to
how
be there.
I mean, and depending on the publisher, like one of the publishers that I do production for is they want it word perfect,
Hmm.
to the chagrin, because everybody changes word, every actor will change words in narration, and usually if it's just a little change, if it still makes sense, if it's still grammatically correct, well,
Right.
like, it's fine, but then there's other projects where, especially like e-learning, it has better match egg
Exactly.
word for
Because someone's
letter,
going along. Someone's going
right,
along with it.
too. And I think, too, the other things I learned about, like, how to produce an audiobook, they're mastered very differently than music and movies, because you have to think, where do most people listen to audiobooks? It's trains, planes, and automobiles. You have to
Right.
learn how to master to drown out that outside noise. And then, too, another thing I learned that really I put at the forefront is that you have to keep in mind that there might be someone, very much like Stan Lee said, that someone's comic book, when someone buys a comic book, it could be their first comic book ever. He would tell that to his writers. Um, where someone who purchased an audiobook that I've done may not have English as their first language.
Mm.
So I want
Hmm.
to make sure that my performance is. I slow down just an essence of slowing down,
Yeah.
so that I make sure that connection to the words in the story is clear. In the event someone who may have to pause it, just to make sure that they enjoy the journey as well.
Yeah.
And I think that might affect too of why why it's not more readers theater now. But like I said, especially with Audible, I'm seeing more and more full cast recordings now coming out.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
Daniel, like, yeah, graphic audio does like the kind of more the
graphic.
reader's theater. Yeah.
They did, yeah, like they did a bunch of Marvel books. I'm trying to adapt one of Ben's comic books into a. In fact, I might be reaching out to you maybe for a little bit part as a proof of concept thing. To
I
do
got nothing better to do.
There we go. So yeah, I want to do Ninja High School as a radio, as like as a motion comic almost,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
and like a proof of concept kind of thing. And um, but going back to the idea, but who mentioned graphic audio?
Daniel.
They did a bunch of full cast of Spider-Man and Batman that I've been listening to, where it's a combination of the characters, doing the majority of the lines, but then the narrator steps in with the description. Because
Hmm.
I think with the description too, compared to readers theater, is you need those descriptions to help paint the picture in the mind.
You absolutely, yeah, but you don't
You
need
know,
all the
well, no, exactly. If you have
articles and
multiple, right,
yeah,
if
yeah.
you have a multicast, but sometimes when you have that singular voice, it just. I remember I did an audiobook once where I think it was missing some of that, and I read the scene one way, And then I got really confused by it, and I went to the author. And I said, I think I read this wrong. And they listened to it. Yeah, Kevin, you read it from the wrong perspective completely. It's this person talking. I said, well, you never mentioned in that interim that he was the one speaking. I couldn't tell. So I picked, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, there's a lot of adaptation that can be done. But I think when it comes down to it, when you hear audiobook, you expect to hear either unabridged or abridged. I know a lot of, I listened to a lot of the Star Trek actors who've done audiobooks. Like James Doohan did a ton of them, but they're all using those. Really? James Doohan, George Takei, William Shatner, Gates McFadden did them, Jonathan Frakes. I mean, they all would do the Star Trek audiobooks while the show was on. Yeah, yeah. Every So, oh my God, Catherine Janeway. The actress
Muldoon.
Kate Mulgrew. Yeah. She read the book that was about Catherine Janeway's history. So
here, I'm going to make you very happy, Kevin. You ready? Here, read this one. Oh, not that. This one.
Oh my gosh. Oh
yeah. This continues it.
Let me. Especially the Garth. Yeah. Maybe I'll pull that out. I will say that an anime actor who is now very famous because of Critical Role, Taliesin Jaffe, once said a great way to practice character voices in demo is to read all the characters in comic books.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do a little video for you on TikTok. I'll pull out a Garth Ennis Punisher, and read that a little bit. Yeah. But
that's a great run, man. Garth is,
Yeah.
Garth is my guy.
Yeah.
Preacher.
I like him a lot. Preacher is.
Come on, man.
Unreal, man. Yeah. I got into Preacher because of you. You introduced me. I mean, I knew of it. I just was like, I don't know if I like that. But you were the one that brought me. Either brought me a trade or a couple of. It must have been at the shop because I remember reading it at the shop. Now.
Yeah.
You probably.
I think I handed it to you at the shop.
Yeah. You probably did. Yeah.
Garth, he's so good. Well, I mean, now, are you watching The Boys on Prime?
Love it. Absolutely love that. It's just so good.
I think the new episode came on last night. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I haven't either. And that's funny. But now that you mention that, I need to go back and watch a series that I was excited about because I think Jason Patrick was going to be the lead in it, and then they had 2 seasons, but it was on the PlayStation Network.
Yes, it is.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Powers. There was a 2 season of Powers with the guy from District 9. Was it any good?
Nah.
Oh.
I
remember because Jason Patrick was
seeking out.
Is it not? No, that's disappointing.
I don't think so.
All right. Remember the short-lived PlayStation Network.
The very very short-lived. But yeah, so The Boys, they say that's gotten this season and next. That's it. They're wrapping it up.
I've been thinking about a lot of shows have been doing this where they kind of I can remember for a show to go into syndication, and that's where you get your residuals. It had to be 100. 5 seasons?
Yeah. You usually. But these streaming shows, they're not going into syndication. They belong to streamers.
They belong to streaming. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Because I remember.
So you're not having to crank out 100 episodes anymore to get resids, man. It's a different story.
It's shorter seasons. Yeah, and it's very much like British theater. I mean, British TV, where you would have 6 seasons an episode. I mean, 6 episodes a season.
Yeah. 6 to 8 to 10, somewhere in there. Yeah.
And there might be a 2-year break between seasons too. I didn't realize this. So it's really kind of going that.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about you got most of your cast is probably doing something on the West End or something. You got to get them all back.
Yeah.
I mean, these are probably classically trained, and they're not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're not going to do one season after another. But no, we'll never see TV like that again. No, I don't think. No. We'll never see 23 half-hour episodes a season. That's never going to happen.
No.
That's never going to happen.
People don't have the attention spans for it either, I don't think.
Well, not only that, but I mean, think about your production costs.
Your production costs.
Cast for 23 weeks of work and an entire studio. I mean, no, that's never going to happen.
Yeah. Unless you're Tyler Perry and film a whole season in 4 days.
Yeah, but you own your own studio if you're Tyler Perry. Right. But I mean, but you have to look so slick to compete. Yeah. You have to sink so much money into production. Yeah. That But I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. I think it's impacting the movies because now the fun is these maxi movies that are 10, 13, 12, 8 hours long that you can really
Yeah.
get character arcs. I can
Yeah.
pause it and go to the bathroom because I'm an old guy. And I can
Right
sit
there
there
with you.
I can sit there with my Mike's Hard Lemonade and watch when I want to watch and pause it. And
Yeah.
and I now know it's harder and harder to get people to get off the couch and go to the theater.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't like to go anymore. It just I like to the comfort of my own home.
Young Sheldon, they're still doing it for Young Sheldon.
The number of
23
episodes, 23
Yeah,
episodes.
23
Yeah.
episodes. But I think this is the last season for Young Sheldon. I mean, I think
Yeah, it
that kinda-
finished. Yeah.
yeah, I think that kind of production it's gonna be harder and harder to find.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, when I saw the thing that Tyler Perry was planning like an $800 million expansion, like 12 new soundstage, all this stuff, but then that
Yeah, but then
Sonor AI came out,
now he doesn't
canceled
have
all
to
of
do
it.
it. He canceled
No,
the whole thing.
you
Yeah,
don't need it. If you got the volume like they use on
yep,
Star Wars,
that's
and
it. You
I
need big
mean,
screens. That's it.
that's it. That's all you need these days. And
Yeah,
I mean, so many jobs, I hate to say it, are going to be like a friend. I was talking with an IATSE member. He's saying you've got all your truck drivers, you got your porta potty drivers, you've got your catering drivers, you've got your cast drivers, your car drivers. I mean, you don't need them anymore.
no, you don't go anywhere anymore.
You don't
But
go anywhere.
I mean, but this has been the story forever. Remember that
It has.
what happened to your matte painters and what happened to your
It's funny. I thought about that because I was watching a documentary about Stan Winston, and when his team developed the CGI for Jurassic Park, I think it was like within 3 years, he went from his huge, monstrous warehouse
yeah
down to an office
to
with 5
offices.
computers.
Yeah.
With five,
It's all CGI now. Stan
it's all
Winston's not
CGI
going to
now.
make big pumpkin head
No.
puppets anymore.
No,
Did you ever see Pumpkinhead?
oh yeah,
Really?
Lance Henriksen, Amy Dolenz. I had a crush on Amy Dolenz like nobody's business.
I did a show with a guy in that, John D'Aquino.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what's next? We're coming up against the Kevin. What's next for Kevin? You've got your
I've got
video game going out. Your video game.
got my video game
going
demo.
out.
I mean, that's the calling card. Hopefully, to video game companies. I should say it's now called apparently an interactive demo, because that's what you use to send to video game companies, and I can use it for dubbing companies as well because it's more cinematic. It's not your animation. So that's my big goal. I'm looking for a new agent this year.
Why?
Because
why is everyone always looking for a new agent?
because I haven't had an audition in 4 years for my current one. That's for a multitude of reasons that actually has nothing to do with them. There was a big thing that happened in 2017 that the voiceover world was kind of decimated by.
Really?
And a lot of the gist of it is there was a company called VoiceBank where only your agent could list you. The agents paid a fee to be a part of it, and they would list you as a talent. And that's where all the big casting directors for voiceover would send their auditions, and then look for new talent and yada yada yada. And in 2017, anybody registered, including myself, got a letter from the president or head of VoiceBank saying, looking at our business model into the future, yada yada yada, we've decided to partner with Voices.com, which is one of these pay-for-play sites where you pay a fee and you fill out your profile and they send you auditions. Yeah.
Those are sketchy. Those are sketchy.
They can be. There's a couple that I'm with, but they run a little differently, which is the only reason, and they're affordable.
Yeah.
I think Voices.com, it does have a level at $5,000 a year. I think the last thing I heard. Anyway, so all those auditions and all those casting directors go up to Canada now to Voices.com. Now, agents still have to, if they want to be part of that, they have to pay a fee to join. And for a long time, there was a website, there was a web page on Voices.com that showed all the major agencies that had followed VoiceBank's demise up to Voices.com, but all the little agencies here, they couldn't follow. They just there wasn't enough return, and so they shut down because they don't have access to the auditions anymore. And my agency succumbed to that problem. and so most of my stuff the last 4 or 5 years I've just got on my own, but it's time for me to get to the next level and sign with
You need to get out there, man.
a larger agent. Yeah.
You need
So
to get out there.
I've got my dream agencies that I'm ready to send my demo to. And
Well, who do we pick up? We'll call. Well, let's pick up the phone and call.
right. That's a little that's a little trickier with agents.
Yeah,
that's
they generally don't like that.
They don't like that. No,
they don't like that.
It's like it's either email me or somebody. Now I do have a director said I could name drop him that's already signed with the particular dream agency. I won't say who until I maybe get a positive response.
That would be cool.
So that's a little, a kind of a walk in, but yeah, it's real tricky. But I've got friends who are being dropped left and right, from other agencies. Like when that happened, like there was a big one named Vox that I heard this with a grapevine. Vox, I don't know, don't say that this is absolute fact. But I had a friend of mine who had just signed with them and then 6 months later got dropped, not because he wasn't booking, but then they said, well, with the whole voice bank, we're going to stick with celebrity talent right now. So,
But that's the case with everything, right? Like everyone wants the sure shot. No one wants
the sure
to take
shot. No one takes a risk anymore.
That's the way publishing is. That's the way film is. That's the way everybody. It's a different
because at the end of the day, the most important thing to them is the dollar sign.
That's it. It's a different world now, man. No one's going to take a risk these days.
No.
Right?
So you have to make your own noise, which is why I think when you told me what you were planning, I mean, I think that's freaking amazing, and that's you. But I think this is pretty much in any creative endeavor now these days is you have to make your own noise. You have to say, I'm here to be seen.
But isn't that, going all the way back to...
is.
The internet's such a great equalizer with that. But I mean, remember Kevin Smith, like when he did clips on credit cards. And
credit card debt,
yeah.
Exactly.
You got to get out there and make your art and work to find your audience. That's just the way a lot of it goes now,
Absolutely. So there we are.
So, so next thing for you, you're going to get me something teeny tiny in your
yes, absolutely. No, actually, it may not be so teeny tiny. Actually, I think
Do I get to do the surprise intake of breath? Because I just want to be able to do. I just want to put
absolutely.
That on my wrist.
What we call the noises of amazement and wonderment.
Yeah, is that what you call it?
I call it all the little what?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
because when you put them all together by themselves, it's a whole different soundtrack to something else. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet you.
Out of context, you're like, wait a minute. Now,
what's going on?
Do I share this though? Do I share this now? I don't know. I'm gonna out myself.
Why not?
So, screw it. I did my first hentai this year.
What?
Yeah, just a prince. It was like 5 lines.
I need a copy. I need a copy.
I play
so
a principal,
bad.
but get this. So I just play a principal of one scene. It's the first time that my name appears on a DVD box, and not that they're the biggest awards, but we won a Telly Award for it, for cast.
Now you can resume that.
Yeah.
Telly Award winner.
Yeah.
You just don't say what for.
They make you pay $300 if you want a statue for it.
Are you serious?
Oh, I mean, apparently they've been around from the 70s. Nobody takes.
Are you
seriously.
paying? Are you going to get one?
Of course not. No.
Oh, I think we should do.
I don't have $300.
I think we should do a GoFundMe for your Telly.
Oh, good Lord. My Telly. And you know what I realized is
your hentai Telly.
That hentai is basically the OnlyFans for voice actors. It's better than selling feet pics, I'll tell you that.
I don't know, Kevin. I don't know.
I know.
I need a copy.
I will get you a copy, sir.
Okay, so tell me.
Yeah.
I'm seriously hit me up with the. We need to get together and do something. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ninja High School.
Ninja High School should be a fun little thing.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So okay.
Well,
I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
We need to do this way more often. I mean,
we do. Anytime.
Yeah.
To spend time with you is such a joy. I'll take it any day of the week.
You know what? I have so many amazing memories of that. And people think it's like that was a creepy place, man. Were you there the night like the creepy stuff happened? I mean, it was more than one night.
I had an experience that I don't know if it was my mind playing tricks on me or not. I forget what the show. Oh no, it might have been one of the Stregonona shows. We had a big, colorful set, right? And
Yeah.
I did the light design, I did the programming, and I don't remember who it was, but somehow all my light cues got deleted off the light board by whoever was running lights, including my backup.
Yeah.
So you remember our schedule. We'd performances in the morning, lunch, rehearsal for the next show, and then Dave Morgan and I would have to build,
Right.
until wee hours of the night.
Unless there wasn't a second or third
Right,
show.
right.
Yeah.
Quick side note: did you know that Dave is in Northern Ireland now with Shannon?
Get out of town. What are they doing there?
Well, when a certain president 4 years ago came into office, they were like, "We're done. We're out of here." He's been building sets for like the BBC. He did
Really?
a theater installation in London that went to Florida, and he's done some background work in BBC shows. They're having a great time.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah. So I'm there once. So I it's like 11:30 at night. I go get some late taco dinner, or whatever, from down the street, and I've got to reprogram the show from memory. And I think I was so tired. And I remember we had these two big speakers on the stage, and this is when we had the light board up at the balcony.
Yeah.
on the set, right?
Was this the night that Dan's music played?
No.
Okay, because I was there for that night.
I don't know about that night.
Oh, okay. Finish your story. I'll tell you mine.
So remember for quick reference for everybody, we were in what was called Beethoven Hall, which was this 100-year-old opera house.
Yeah.
In the 70s, it was converted into an adult theater for a while. So the whole back wall and the balcony was glass because that's where they put the cameras to the old reel-to-reel projector. So that was our costume area. Now, there was an entrance that I don't think always locked, and I think that's what may have happened here. But it's like 1 a.m. I'm trying to program these cues up there. I'm looking at the two huge speakers covered with fabric, and in my peripheral vision, in my vision, I see them as just two, black stack speakers. When I turn look at the board, my peripheral vision sees them as people covered with black fabric going like this. And I'm just like, what is going on? My brain is kicking my ass here.
That was the taco dinner not sitting well with you.
That was
Kevin.
the taco dinner. Yeah, exactly. But
no,
then,
I was there the night. We were up there late. We're building a set, and it's like Dan, who was one of the founders of this theater, had been there forever, had passed away.
Oh gosh.
Had his favorite music, had his CD that he would play when he was working late or something. And we were there building. We were there late, and just that music came on, and no one was in the booth.
Crazy.
Yeah, there was some weird.
Were you there when the little kid said he saw Dan in the bathroom?
Yes.
I will never. The two of them did that a year apart.
Yeah.
Because there was the one kid who came out, and we said, "What? Is everything okay? You were in there a long time." He was like, "I was talking to the man," and we're like, of course, we're concerned. We're like,
it's a children's theater. Wait a minute. Yeah.
And so as just people know, Dan McLaughlin was hard nosed, but boy, did he love acting, and he was a true spirit of that place.
And he was a co-founder of this children's theater. So literally performed characters for a generation of children.
Yes.
Like 800 kids a show. Generation worth of kids in that city. Yeah.
And Richard Solis, who was another actor, who also has since passed away, sadly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died of COVID a couple of years ago.
And Greg, too.
Greg had liver cancer.
It wasn't COVID, but he's...
Right. And then Mindy,
I didn't know about Mindy.
She had a heart attack a couple of years ago. That's how I reconnected with Dave.
Wow.
Okay. So anyway, just for context for people watching, so we had this huge lobby that we every summer we had an academy, and we had like kindergarten up to like I think high school level, whatever, and there was a group of middle school kids, and one of our males, one of the kids went in the bathroom. It was kind of in there a long time, but all of us is there. So the concept of someone coming in the front door that we don't know and going all the way, never would have happened.
Never would have happened.
But I remember I didn't go check on him. I forget. Becky might have gone to check on him. And just as she was about to, knock on the door, he comes out and he says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, I was just talking to the man." I'm like, "Man, what man?" And he makes Richard Solis, who used to fight all the time with Dan, but they loved each other so much.
Yeah.
He had made this beautiful memorial portrait of pictures of Dan that they put all across the lobby near the front door. This kid made a beeline
To the
right
picture,
to that picture and pointed and said, "That man,"
Yeah.
and pointed right at Dan.
And then
I'll
another
never
kid
forget
did it a year later.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. She just said, "I was talking to Dan,"
Yeah.
and so that was just the
That's
only
a creepy
person.
place, man. I'm
It's a
telling
creepy
you.
place, but the only person that should haunt that place is Dan. It's just there we are. There we are.
Yeah.
So
no.
wait. So have you talked about your writing plans with your fans here? Do they know about all this? Have I just broken? Have I?
No. We've said things here or there. Yeah, we've said
Okay.
things here or there. Yeah.
Because I'm excited to read this.
So are you excited to record the book for us? We might have to.
Absolutely.
We might have to tap you on the shoulder because
Absolutely.
we
Done
could
deal.
we could all. Here's the thing. We could all take characters
Let's do it.
because there's some good ones. There's some good ones. There's some that you're really gonna like. There's
can't
Kevin
wait.
characters in there.
Yeah, let's do
Let
it.
me put it this way. There's a Nazi that can't stop singing show tunes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, come on.
Love it.
Come on.
Love it. Springtime for
Time
Hitler
yeah.
in Germany. Yes. Love
Yeah.
it. I can't wait. Do you have I think I may have asked this before, and remind me if I forget. Do you have like a release date that you're going for, or are you still?
Okay, right now we've just taken some notes from some really great readers and stuff. We're getting
Great.
another pass on it. It's going
Okay.
to the developmental editor, like July or August is our deadline,
Gotcha.
and then we'll start fine tuning it after we work with our developmental editor. Then it goes to copy editing. So we think probably if everything stays to target, like sometime next year, first quarter next year, we hope. Somewhere
Oh,
around
that's
there.
fantastic.
Maybe somewhere around there.
Because then you're going to get the movie deal, and book
I don't-
tours.
I don't.
Not
yeah.
this one.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Indie publishing written all over it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think a movie deal's coming our way.
Yeah. Penguin Random House is not pounding on your door saying, "We must have this book."
I've got to have this. Yeah, no, that's not. No one's picking up the phone.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there's some Kevin characters in there. For
I
sure.
can't wait to read this
All
thing.
right, so
I'm
we're
excited.
gonna keep in contact way better.
Yep.
We're gonna do some stuff. All right. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thanks everyone
Yes.
for your questions, hanging out with us, hearing about Kevin's trial and errors of learning everything about anime. So, Kevin, you're one of my favorite people in the world, my friend.
Well, same here, my friend. I love myself. No, I'm kidding. You have been. I think of you and Amy often, and
Yeah, same.
I need to make sure that I actually pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah,
What are you doing?"
same.
You know,
Same. The phone goes both ways. We'll do way better too.
Yeah,
we absolutely will.
absolutely. And thank you for
but-
letting me share this space with you. This is great.
Oh, yeah, no. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone that watches on our replay, thank you so much for joining us. Kevin is going to be appearing in way more anime and games coming your way.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thank you so much. Brian, thank you as always. We will catch you soon. And I'm going to hit in stream and we'll do jazz hands.
Okay.
And you're one of the few
I'm
people
ready.
I can say that to, Kevin, that knows how to do it. Here we go.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, here. I got to hit the button. All right.